The wind carried a faint chill that morning, brushing against Dee's worn jacket as he stood at the edge of the bus station. Round him, people hurried to catch their rides, mothers holding children, workers clutching lunchboxes, students waving goodbye. The sound of engines, laughter, and farewells filled the air like a song of movement and return. But Dee wasn't among them. He stared at the bus ticket counter, his fingers tightening around a few crumpled bills. Not enough for the trip north. The woman at the counter looked at him kindly, but all she could offer was silence. He gave a faint smile, nodded, and stepped back. Outside, his old motorbike leaned against the wall, the same one he had fought so hard to get back, repaired with his own hands. The paint was chipped, the mirror cracked, but it was still his companion through every mile of his life. He looked toward the long road stretching out of town, a thin line fading into the horizon. Beyond those hills, far across provinces and dusty roads, was Huyen, waiting, hoping, maybe still tending the small garden behind their house. "Just you and me again," Dee whispered, patting the side of the bike. "Let's go home." The motor coughed to life, echoing through the station yard. The smell of petrol mixed with morning dew. Dee took one last look at the city, then turned the handlebars north. He didn't have a ticket. He didn't have much money, but he had a reason, and that was enough. As he rode out, the rising sun painted the sky in shades of gold and amber. The road ahead was long and uncertain, yet within Dee's tired eyes burned a quiet determination, a longing stronger than fear, and a love that made every mile worth traveling. The first few hours of Dee's journey were filled with warmth and sunlight. The road unfolded like a ribbon through rice fields shimmering in gold. Children waved as he passed by, their laughter trailing behind like music. For a while, it felt as if the world itself was guiding him home. But as afternoon faded, clouds gathered low and gray. The wind grew sharp. The first drop of rain hit his cheek, then another, then thousands. In moments, the sky broke open, pouring down on him without mercy. Dee pulled to the side of the road beneath a lonely tree, his clothes soaked through. He could feel the chill creep into his bones. The motorbike sputtered, coughing like an old man. He wiped his face with trembling hands and looked around. There was nothing but endless fields, empty and quiet. For a brief moment, doubt crept into his heart. What if I can't make it? What if the road swallows me before I reach her? But then, he remembered Huyen's voice, soft, steady, the way she used to say, "As long as you're breathing, there's a way." That memory gave him strength. He checked the bike again, adjusted the spark plug with the small rusty tool he carried, and kicked the pedal. The engine stuttered, then roared weakly back to life. Dee smiled. "Good boy," he whispered to the bike. He drove slowly through the rain, his headlights cutting through the mist. Villages blurred past like forgotten dreams. Along the way, he met small kindnesses. A farmer who shared tea under a bamboo roof, a young woman who offered him a piece of warm bread, an old man who pointed him to a shortcut road. Each gesture, though simple, felt like a light on his journey, proof that even in hardship, humanity still breathed quietly in the corners of the world. That night, Dee stopped by a roadside inn, exhausted but grateful, as he sat by the window, watching the rain fall over the fields. He whispered Huyen's name, as if the wind might carry it all the way to her. By the third day, Dee's journey grew darker, not just because of the weather, but because of the strange silence that seemed to follow him. The road north had become narrow and uneven, winding through dense forest and lonely bridges. His motorbike rattled beneath him, the sound echoing against the walls of the valley. That afternoon, as he stopped by a small roadside shop to refuel, the owner, an old woman with tired eyes, gave him a strange look. Heading north, she asked. Dee nodded. Yes, to Huyen village. My wife is waiting. The woman sighed. Be careful. There have been men stopping travelers around this area. Robbers, they say. Dee's heart tightened. He thanked her, paid for the fuel, and continued. But the warning clung to him like the scent of rain. As dusk fell, he noticed a shadow behind him, a motorbike following at a distance. The road curved sharply, and when he glanced back, the rider was still there. Dee's pulse quickened. He accelerated slightly. The man behind him did, too. The night air turned cold, heavy with the smell of wet earth. Then, suddenly, the following bike roared closer, its headlight blinding. A voice shouted, Stop the bike. Dee swerved, narrowly avoiding a fallen branch. His heart pounded in his chest. He didn't stop. He pressed harder, the old motorbike groaning beneath his weight. For a few terrifying minutes, it was a chase through darkness, engine against engine, fear against will. Finally, Dee spotted a narrow dirt path leading toward a small village. Without thinking, he turned sharply into it, the bike bouncing violently over rocks and mud. Behind him, the sound of pursuit faded. When he finally stopped, breathless and trembling, he was surrounded by bamboo trees and the faint lights of a distant house. He leaned against his bike, his hands shaking. For a long moment, he just listened to the sound of his heartbeat, the rustling leaves, and the faraway barking of dogs. He realized then that this journey was no longer just about returning home. It was a test of courage, patience, and love. As the moon rose over the quiet fields, Dee whispered to himself, I'll get home, no matter what it takes. By dawn, the fog had settled low across the road, wrapping everything in a pale, trembling mist. Dee's eyes burned from lack of sleep, but he kept going. The hum of the motorbike was now like a heartbeat, steady, fragile, alive. Every turn of the wheel brought him closer to Huyen, to home, to the soft voice of Maya calling him Uncle Dee. The sun rose slowly over the rice fields, painting them gold. For a brief moment, Dee smiled. He could already imagine Huyen's face, that quiet smile that could melt away every hardship. But then, as fate would have it, the engine coughed. Once, twice, and died. Dee tried to start it again. Nothing. The tank was nearly empty. He looked around. No houses, no shops, just the endless stretch of countryside. The silence was so deep that even the birds seemed to hold their breath. He sat beside the bike, wiping sweat and dust from his face. His wallet held only a few small bills, not enough even for a liter of gas. He looked up at the sky and let out a long sigh. For a moment, despair washed over him. He whispered, Why now, when I'm so close? Then, from the distance, came the soft rattle of a cart. An old farmer approached, leading a buffalo. The man stopped when he saw Dee. Engine trouble? He asked kindly. Dee nodded. Embarrassed. I ran out of gas. I'm trying to get back north, to my family. The old farmer looked at him for a while, then smiled. You've come a long way. There's a small village 2 kilometers ahead. I can give you some gas. Not much, but enough to reach there. Dee was speechless. His eyes glistened as he helped the man pour the small amount of fuel from a tin can into his tank. Thank you, sir. I'll never forget this." The man only waved. "Go home safely, young man. It's a long road, but love will guide your way." Dee bowed deeply before starting the bike again. As the engine came back to life, he felt something stir inside. Hope, warm and quiet, like the morning light breaking through the fog. He tightened his grip on the handlebars and whispered, "Wait for me, Huyen. I'm coming home." The road stretched endlessly ahead, but this time, it no longer felt lonely. It felt like a promise, one that he was finally ready to keep. By the time Dee reached the edge of the northern hills, the evening sky was painted in shades of gold and rose. The wind was cool now, carrying the familiar scent of wet earth and rice paddies after the rain. His heart beat faster with every kilometer. He was almost there. He passed the old bridge, the one where he and Huyen once stopped to rest years ago. He could still remember her laughter as Maya ran after butterflies in the grass. That memory, soft and distant, made his chest ache, the kind of ache that comes from both love and longing. Finally, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Dee saw it, the little bamboo house with smoke rising gently from the kitchen stove. His hands trembled on the handlebars. The sound of his motorbike startled a dog, Baby, who barked and ran toward him, tail wagging wildly. Dee stopped the bike and got off, his legs unsteady from the long journey. "Huyen," he called softly. From inside the house, a familiar voice answered. "Dee, is that you?" She stepped out, her face lit by the golden light of dusk. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Tears filled Huyen's eyes as she covered her mouth in disbelief. Then Maya ran out, shouting, "Uncle Dee, you came back." Dee knelt down, opening his arms as Maya threw herself into his embrace. Huyen stood by the doorway, her hand trembling as she wiped her tears. "I thought," she began, but her voice broke. Dee smiled faintly, exhausted but full of peace. "I told you I'd come home, even if I had to drive all the way." Huyen stepped closer, and for a long moment, they just looked at each other, the silence between them filled with everything words could not express. The night settled softly around them. The scent of wood smoke and boiled rice filled the air. Maya's laughter echoed as Baby circled their feet. Dee looked around the small home, humble, warm, and filled with light, and whispered, This is where I was meant to return." And as Huyen quietly placed a bowl of soup before him, she smiled through her tears. "Welcome home, Dee." Outside, the stars appeared one by one, shining gently over the little house by the stream, where love, after all the storms and distance, had finally found its way home. Life often takes us on long, uncertain roads filled with dust, distance, and doubt. But sometimes, those very roads lead us back to where our hearts truly belong. Dee's journey was not just a physical one. It was a journey of patience, of faith, and of love that refused to fade despite hardship. He could have waited for better weather, for more money, for an easier path, but instead, he chose courage over comfort, because when the heart remembers, it's home. No distance is too far. Huyen, too, waited in quiet strength. Each day, she believed that the one who cared for her and Maya would return, and that belief, gentle but unshakable, became her light through lonely nights. In the end, their reunion was not a miracle of chance, but the reward of persistence, kindness, and faith. The story reminds us that true love is not measured by grand gestures or promises, but by the simple, unwavering will to return, again and again, no matter how far we've gone. Even when life's journey feels endless, if we walk it with love, we are never truly lost.